Hello and welcome back to New Comic Book Day Book Club. Hopefully, I am not max headrooming,
It was so good. I almost
which
wanted to record it.
should be a TikTok trend.
Yes.
But
Yes.
kids these days,
There's got to be like a filter. You need a filter, a max headroom filter.
yeah,
I'm going to look for that.
there's someone must have made it, right?
I mean, right? It's clearly an iconic person. You knew who it was. I knew who it was.
Yes, but
And
we're also old people.
I'm assuming JP in the chat knows who it is. And Gore Vidal was in there.
Yeah. Yeah. Gore Vidal is here or was here. Hey, Gore, what's up? Always nice to see you. JP.
And you could actually see him on JP's channel when they discussed Deadly Class. He was on screen chatting.
Way.
I'm
gonna have to watch that. I missed that.
I'm saying, yeah, they did the first, I think, just two volumes, maybe. Trade paperbacks.
This guy.
I was dominant. It was a little sad. I wrote it's kind of sad.
Yeah. Well, I mean, my whole channel is kind of sad, but that's kind of on brand for me. There you go. Gore remembers Max Headroom.
However,
Aston Comics, what's up?
He remembers Max Headroom. He's old enough.
Yeah.
But your channel being sad, I feel like we got three pretty solid books to talk about tonight.
Yeah.
It's not going to be like, let's just bitch for an hour.
Yeah, there's I don't think there's a dumpster fire in what we plan to talk about, at least.
Not a one.
You also may notice that I sound like an old blues man. So all of the books are about trains tonight. Not really, but there is
not any of them.
There is a book that includes train tracks and devils, so
okay,
kind of fits the motif. I just had a cold over the weekend and feel much better, but my body hasn't told my voice yet that I feel better.
There you
go. So I apologize. How are you?
I'm doing all right. At my school we had a cat that was a stray that the school adopted and has had 2 litters of kittens in 7 months.
I saw the post about the kittens.
We've had 16 kittens
rolling around with all of them.
Yeah. So it's hard not to just find yourself taking little breaks in there, cat naps, if you will.
Yeah, that sounds.
And just playing with kittens.
It would be incredibly dangerous for everyone involved, but I wish we had just cats running around the warehouse where I work.
I mean, I'm allergic and I still can't stay away.
I mean, the kittens are so stinking cute.
I took a photograph at one point because I went in and every time I go in, it's like I can't find them. It's a classroom. It's an old classroom we don't really use anymore. And there's a little drawer with yarn over here, and there's one sleeping in that. There's like a little toy chair that's for dolls, and there's like 2 sleeping there. It's like you never know where they're gonna be at any given moment when you open the door. And then of course when they're awake, it's like they're tackling and they're darting and they're jumping and they're jumping out to scare you and then running away because they're scared of how big you are.
Should open up a cat cafe at the school.
My wife calls it kitten wrestling. Like she wants me just to sit there and record a pair will wrestle and then one will run off and a new one will dive in and then this rolling pair will tackle that other rolling pair.
Sounds like doggy daycare.
It very much could be.
Anyway, that's enough about cats and John's work.
Yeah.
Let's do what we're here for because we're already 12 minutes late.
Let's talk about something different, like
Catwoman. That's where I was going with that.
Segway.
Yeah. The guy who invented the Segway died by falling off a cliff on a Segway?
Now, how do we segue out of that?
Yeah, well, he didn't.
Yikes. Is that real? Is that just a great joke?
As far as I know, let me
you go fact check it. I'll start us off here. So this is the final fourth issue of the large format Cliff Chiang Black Label DC book Catwoman Lonely City. And I had sworn off of these large format books because I hate storing them. I hate the large bags and boards. I hate all about it. And I've been reading only every once in a while something great in a trade, a hardcover when they drop. I'm glad I took the time. I may end up giving away all my individual issues and just buying the hardcover as well. But this is a really
I was thinking the same thing because I definitely want to reread it.
Yes.
And I'm sure in one oversized hardcover, it's going to look real nice.
Now, JP, I'm not, we will talk some spoilers, but we'll try to be light because we're not, I mean, it's great. You should read it. It's basically the gist for me.
It is great. But I mean, as JP should know by now, this is a, spoiler show. And
full spoiler.
And we gave you an extra day this time too, because it is not even Wednesday and it came out last week. So we actually gave you over a week. 8
or 9. Yeah.
So I got no sympathy for you. According to Wikipedia, Jimmy Hesselden, the inventor of the Segway, died in 2010 from injuries apparently sustained from falling off a cliff while riding his own product.
Wow. That is the most invaluable. That's the most valuable part of this show, folks. You're done. Yeah. We've peaked.
All right. Good night.
That was amazing.
Chaos and Comics says, love weird formatting on comics. I love weird formatting on comics in theory. Like, I enjoy reading this book because it feels nice and it looks nice in the oversized format. But as soon as I'm done, I think, shit, where am I going to put this? Because I don't buy enough to, buy magazine bags and boards and buy a magazine box.
I think at this point, what I'm using is a short box going the opposite direction. And that's about how many I own. Bueller? Right there, like that many. And that includes graphic novels like God Loves Man Kills and stuff like that. They're all that way, sideways in one short box.
Yeah. I don't even think I own, well, maybe I own that many, but that's probably what I'm going to start doing. I think I just have these on my trade shelf right now.
Okay, so can I say what I love about the Cliff Chang story that he's telling here?
No, I thought we only showed on books on this show.
I mean, sure.
But I might as well, it's first time for everything, so go ahead.
I love the he nails the MacGuffin for me here.
Yeah.
The whole thing seems to be about, Batman died long ago and Catwoman, and she's trying to make up for that failure and try to solve the last mystery that he gave to her. And this whole thing, it's such a great MacGuffin that even when she solves it, you're just like, God, it's a beautiful, it's like glorious failure. I was so happy that it was like you get to the reveal, and I don't even feel the need to even spoil it, but you get to the reveal in Catwoman Lonely City that what Batman was saying, because he says the word Orpheus when he dies.
Yeah.
And the whole mystery is, what is Orpheus? What does this mean? The reveal is so wonderfully Wile E. Coyote running into a brick wall. It's it has profound meaning, in the epic failure of it, the uselessness of it.
Right.
It's beautiful.
But it's so, and this is something that I've said in previous episodes where we've talked about this book before. It so perfectly represents Batman as a character, though.
Yes, because he's always got a plan. He's always got these things, but at some point, a plan has to just be fucked, right? It's just at some point he's gonna die. A plan has to fail, right?
Right.
At
but
some
even
point.
They say the week it would have given him to keep fighting was enough for him. That's such a Batman thing where it's if I just can get one more week of just trying to save this city, maybe I can do it. But yeah, the way that he represents all these characters, really understands them to their core, is what one of the things that I really loved about this series as a whole.
Because you have a beautiful representation of Killer Croc early on in the series. I think that was one of the hooks that got me at the beginning.
Yeah.
I love full-bodied Poison Ivy. She's fucking amazing.
Yeah.
I love this Two-Face who seems to be reformed, but still has
crazier than ever.
Yeah. It's almost like he's all evil face. It's wonderfully sinister.
And then the Riddler,
Riddler,
who was totally, by his own admission, totally coked up.
Yeah.
back in the day, which is probably what fueled a lot of his insanity.
They have a
Which,
little
like, totally
penguin.
makes sense.
Yeah. A little penguin, a little Barbara Gordon, a ton of Selena. Like, I
Right.
think
Well, obviously, because it.
I just love these versions of these characters.
Yeah, it's great. It's I find it hard to criticize it, which doesn't make for a great conversation because, like, we can just sit here and compliment it all night, but,
I mean,
I guess it's a lot easier to say, "Oh, this is what's wrong with something," than to
right.
say all the great things, because then it just kind of feels like.
I know exactly what people who wouldn't like it would say. There'd be a lot of people that say it's anticlimactic. There'd be a lot of people that say it doesn't have enough action or not enough excitement or energy. And for me, it's just like they missed out.
Right, because
That's
that's
a
not what.
Batman book. This is a Catwoman book. It's
Right.
the perspective is so different.
Yeah, this isn't. I mean, obviously, there's quite a large action scene in this issue,
Yeah.
and there is action in other issues, but this is a story about characters. This isn't a story about. This isn't an action movie.
No. And
So
I'm
I
not even
think, like,
mentioning like Etrigan, who has
yeah,
a great part in the last 2 issues.
yeah, he's like totally sassy in this.
Oh my god! When he eats that guy's head off,
Yeah, well,
it's like dripping blood. He's just holding that the headless corpse. Graphic.
even when, like, they're trying to dispel the curse.
Waterfall.
Yeah,
Oh.
and Catwoman's like, have you tried saying "open sesame"? And he's like, "Open sesame." And
Oh
like,
yeah.
and then Poison Ivy's like, "You sure they kicked you out of hell? They didn't kick you out of hell just because you're an asshole," or something like that.
It's so good. Well, and then you get that phenomenal Zatanna cameo. Like
Yeah,
it's like
so
2
good.
panels. It's just fantastic. And then they just move right past it. It's
Right.
like she's not a part of this. It's just we wanted to cut away to her and then cut back.
Yeah,
It's beautifully done. And it's fun. Like it's a very
yeah.
fun book.
It's not like. I mean, it's definitely silly at times, but it's not a silly story. It takes
No.
itself very seriously, but there's just a lot of humor within it, which I think is, makes sense for just like how people are. Like, even in serious situations, like, people are gonna crack jokes and, you know, find yourself like, even in the most severe, serious situations, like, unless you're in a hostile type situation,
But
like,
even
you're.
then, Gallows humor and the humor shared by people in warfare, these things they happen because it's the natural human response to things that are so overwhelmingly heavy.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a cameo, JP. Don't hype it too much. It's just
literally
fun.
2 panels.
Yeah, it's fun.
She barely. I don't even know. She might have like 1 line, but you get to see her. She's got like a gray streak in her hair.
Mm-hmm.
She's still got them legs.
I mean,
and she's performing in Vegas.
Here's a question for you.
Yes.
Let's say next week, next month, whatever, Cliff Chang comes out and says, I'm doing a sequel in that same universe, focusing on a different character or whatever. Would you be like, great idea? Or would you be like, don't cash in on this?
It's tricky because it sounds like something where I would kind of veer towards the second option, where I would worry that it was just him saying like, oh, people want more of this, I guess I'll do more of this. But
right.
If best case scenario, he already planned to do more, or B, he has a genuine idea of what he wants to do, then I'm all for it. It's just a question of, if he's forcing it, then no.
That's the key. And we wouldn't know until we read it, right?
Right. But at the same time, this was so good that I think even a bad version of this, I would still be on board for, because it still would be better than a lot of other stuff.
That's exactly what I was thinking. I felt like if he with all his talent and understanding of this universe says he's got another story to tell in this world, who am I to say no? And I'm all in, because he's clearly the mastermind of the whole thing.
Yeah,
I would just,
he does.
In that scenario, I would probably just wait and buy the hardcover.
Yeah, maybe. But at the same time, my impatience might get the better of me, because,
that's what happened to me this time.
Yeah, this, like, it definitely was the book I was always looking forward to most coming out next.
And I will say, part of what I love about it is it's all the best Bat characters, and they kill Batman. They lift his ass out.
Yeah.
That's probably why I liked it.
Well, yeah, I mean, this is not a Batman story. This is a Gotham story.
Yes.
And
I think those tend to be my favorite Bat Universe books, are the ones that are focused on the city,
Gotham Central.
Yeah, and the causes, the things that it's caused. I think, that's why I think year one resonates so well with me, is because it feels like it's about the city and not Batman.
Well, he's not Batman yet. But yeah, I mean, Cliff Chiang did everything for this book. He did the art, the writing, the coloring, and the lettering.
He printed it himself. He's got a little machine.
Yeah, right. That's why it took so long to come out. He was just on the little hand printer.
Takes a while. He carried them to shops.
Besides the variant covers, and obviously, like, I'm sure DC had an editor working on it, but he did, like, everything you see on the interior was him. So clearly he, this is.
Which cover did you go with?
I went with A cover. Yeah.
I just love seeing the Batcave and the Bat logo buried in it. It's so cool.
Yeah.
I still don't have a dang bag and board for it, because my shop ran out of those size.
This is that. Clever.
It's clever.
Yeah. So, I mean, clearly, like, this felt like a passion project. This wasn't like something he was doing because I feel like he approached DC about this, not the other way around. I don't.
Or if anything else, they just said, "Hey, do you have anything at DC you want to make? What is it? We would happily make it."
He said, "Hey, I'd like to do a Catwoman story in the future."
They were like, "Sign it, dotted line."
Who do you want to write it? And he said, "Me." And they said, "Are you sure?" And he said, "Hold my beer."
I don't know how well it's doing, like, as far as sales. I hope it's doing well.
Yeah.
There's so many Bat Universe books these days, and there's not a lot of large format books being published another that I've noticed. There's the Aquaman one and the Wonder Woman one. I think those are the only other two.
For a while they were like, oh, well, there's the another one that just came out, some other Batman Bad Day or something.
Oh, the Bad Day series are the larger format size?
No, maybe it wasn't Bad Day. Well, I think I bought it. I don't know where the hell it is in this mess. What the hell was it called? I don't know.
There was a new Bat book, the Batman and the Joker or something, that came out this week.
Yeah, the Mark Silvestri one.
Yeah, I didn't read that one.
No. But yeah, there's some other new Batman black label. Yeah, because that black label is just the Batman label at this point. Basically.
I mean, started with the Wang, and it's just never gotten away from it.
Yeah. If anything, it should have had more Wang.
I mean, I think that's what hurt the later issues in that story.
Yeah, because they covered up Harley Quinn's boobids.
I wish somebody had that original art somewhere. Libra Majo's original boobs-free Harley.
Well, I think there was a situation with them censoring the Batman White Knight too, wasn't there?
I think it sounds familiar.
One of the Sean Murphy books, with Harley Quinn again, that they had her naked and they put like word bubbles over her boobs. It's already like a mature labeled book. You have Etrigan like eating someone's head in this.
Yeah, it's graphic.
Obviously, like plenty of swearing. So
yeah,
I don't know what people's concern about nudity is, but that's not a conversation for tonight.
And you think with Harley Quinn, they'd just be like, whatever. It's not, Wonder Woman or whatever.
Yeah, but I think like Harley Quinn kind of is their Wonder Woman to like she's their cash cow right now.
I mean, that's fair.
And maybe they don't want to like misrepresent her because she has a lot of younger fans.
I mean, at this point, she's a concerning character to all parents. So,
I mean, she always has been.
I don't know that anything they do is gonna like remove the stigma for me.
Yeah, she in no way should be a role model.
One of Kate's friends was the Daddy's Little Monster version for Halloween. Great. A freshman in high school.
Yeah,
I saw the costume. I was like, oh dear Lord.
Yeah,
same age as my daughter.
Not appropriate.
Yikes! I was glad my daughter was like, what's it, Robin from Stranger Things.
Oh, nice. The best character besides Steve.
She's great. Yeah, well, yeah, Steve and what's his name? Eddie Munson.
Yeah, R.I.P.
Gone too soon. Although, if the rumors are to be believed, or the ideas, yeah, I mean, if
Vampire Eddie Munson.
That's what I want, man. I want it. I need it.
Maybe you'll play some Megadeth or some Slayer this year. I saw, speaking of TikTok, I saw a TikTok of a guy who like totally did up his house with like bats and stuff, and he's on the roof as Eddie playing.
Oh my gosh.
Master Puppets.
I saw somebody that did a whole Stranger Things house with the letters with the lights from season 1, the Christmas lights going around the outside. So cool.
So overall, for the 4-issue series, what's your rating?
9.5. I mean, this is great.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a home run.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't put it in like the 10 category because that is, for things that are like very special.
Seminal.
But like, yeah, I mean, 9.5 for sure.
Yeah. Cool. All right. That's our only big 2 book.
Yeah. I mean, we kind of like don't talk a lot of big 2 anymore.
No. It's the rare ones like this,
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's difficult when we try to talk about issue 1s a lot, and
yeah,
way more indie number 1s come out than big 2 number 1s.
And I've been reading more or buying more single issue Marvel and DC stuff, but it's the indies where I'll buy issue 1 and then read the trades and keep up with them that way.
But also, like, the big 2 number 1s are like, Deadpool number 1 came out this week. Like, I don't want to, like, that was the reason we switched the format is because we kept getting forced into reading stuff like that were
Guardians of the Galaxy number 1
twice.
So good.
Yeah, I mean, I can't argue with a 9. Like, it's an A. Like,
Yep.
Any way you slice it. What do you want to talk about next?
So we've got kind of like young kids, and we've got young kids. We've got young kids in danger. We got young kids in danger. Like, what do you think?
Young kids in a fantasy setting, or young kids in a fantasy setting?
Exactly.
Dark Ride's on the top of my stack, so let's talk
about it. I have this cover.
Oh, I got the A cover.
And didn't they have versions that are like based on old Disneyland rides, posters and stuff?
There was a 1 per store variant that kind of just was inspired by the look of it. Like, I don't think it was actually an homage to anything specific, but it looked like a Disneyland thing with Walt. And
that's funny.
But
the font is clearly Disney-esque.
Yes, that D is.
Sorry, what was that?
Is very Disneyland.
Tell me about the D.
It's a big D. It's a big blue D. So this is a book that I had picked up, and then you hadn't bought it, right? I told you to get it.
And I went to my shop, and my LCS owner was like, "Oh, you know what? I hid some. I kept some aside for later because I thought maybe it would pop. He couldn't find them, And one of the guys who works the shop was like, I got one in my box. I haven't read it. You can have it. And he basically just sold me his.
Oh, nice.
So shout out to my LCS, always taking good care.
Yes, there was also a Little Mermaid homage variant, incentive variant. You're right. Comic Journey, what's up?
Yeah, so the basic plot is we start, as we often do in comics, in a different time period.
Yes, they love doing that.
Yeah, and we have a person, a creative individual looking to create a theme park, struggling, fighting with his lady friend, kills lady friend, buries lady friend. Lady friend's body seems to be talking to him, or maybe it's not. He looks down inside the grave to talk to it, and it says, hey, I think we can help each other. You're creative. You can help me with my plan.
Yes.
And then we cut to the present, and we're looking at this epic devil-themed theme park.
Yes.
With all of these, nightmarish rides booming with popularity, and a new kid starting his first day of work on the grounds crew there. And he's a big fan. He knows all the nostalgia, all the history. There's even got like a little statue of Dad who hasn't been seen in a while. Yeah. He hasn't been seen in a while. Maybe he's dead. Who knows what's going on? His two children happen to be there that day.
Named Sam Hain and Halloween.
Yes. There's Halloween. Seems to be a social media maven.
Covering the panel.
Oh,
of, her sex tape.
Her sex tape, yeah. And the two of them are bickering siblings, dealing with the failing of the theme park, not doing super well. Then after dark at night, things get a little weird. What's really going on at this theme park? What's really happening? The new kid on the block who has all these ideas for rides gets sort of drawn into this ride that he's not familiar with. It's a little bit different. He sees his parents who are dead, and they're like marionettes on the ride. Blowing his mind. What is going on? No, this is by Joshua Williamson, and I can't remember the artist's name. Bresson?
Yeah.
Andre, Andrei. Bresson. He's going through the ride. He can't get off the ride. It seems like it's designed to kill him. Then we cut to this like tower, this creepy tower. It seems to be in the middle of the park somewhere. And father and son, the kid and his theming is seemingly Walt-ish dad, still alive, sitting in front of a fireplace, talking about how he's inspired to save the theme park. He's got a new idea, and it shows the dying new guy, or the tortured new guy on the ride,
being ripped apart by demons.
Yes. And that's the first issue.
I didn't say it was a kid's book. You said it was a book about kids.
About kids. And we have two of them. There's another book about kids.
The alternate time start doesn't annoy me too much. What annoys me, which I really don't like, is the jump ahead in time start, where it's like, here's where you're going. Right. Now let's jump back and tell you how to get there.
Yeah.
Because
when you jump to the like end of the issue, and then and then it starts
like
at the end of the issue
6 days later, or 6 days earlier.
Yeah.
For me, like 99 out of 100 times, you can get rid of that, and it does not change the story whatsoever.
No,
like
not at all.
All it is just it's a cheap ploy to hook you into the story, to say like, ooh, this is going to be exciting at some point. But
right.
I don't know. I think it's cheap storytelling. But I mean, doing this, like, I still don't necessarily love it, but it does serve a purpose to set up where the story's foundation is.
And I love the jump cut to color, and that spread page, I think, works really, where you see the theme park. You go from black and white and Dad's era to this color spread page. It almost looks like a map of Disneyland. Really good.
Yes.
Which, by the way, they do have a map of Devilland
in the back, where they talk about all of the rides and stuff. In the little not letters page, but the little epilogue by the writer, at the last page, he talks about his genuine love for Disneyland and theme parks, and So clearly, this is a passion project, and for him, like designing all that stuff, I'm sure was part of the fun of making this issue. Like obviously, it is, at least in this first issue, inconsequential what the rides are, but the fact that he did that. Having said that, there are a couple of like just silly nitpicky things that reading this kind of like took me out of the story a little bit.
Okay. And I know you're a big Disneyland fan, so you probably have a little more of an insight.
Disney World.
Yes.
Nothing wrong with Disneyland. I just haven't been since I was a very little kid, so I can't speak to it the same way I can Disney World. They talk about how this is supposed to be a truly scary theme park.
Yes.
And like the son of the owner fires one of his guys because he suggests making a G-rated family-friendly section. To me, like there's nothing that they show in this issue besides the kid getting ripped apart by demons, which clearly is not supposed to happen, or is not the norm.
Yeah.
Everything else they show makes it seem like a pretty family friendly theme park that's just horror themed.
Yes,
because all the shots of like the rides they show, and the overall like look of the park just looks like a theme park.
Yeah.
So I thought that I wish they had done a little bit better job on that to make it look scarier. But
for me, it worked because they were describing how the park was kind of failing and Dad had kind of withered away. It makes me feel like they've gotten away from his vision. And as a result, it's become something else.
Maybe.
And in that way, it seemed fitting. And that this was maybe a return to its former glory or something. But yeah, I get what you're saying.
But then, like, just the disorganization of his arrival at the park, and he's just like wandering around until he runs into the person that he's supposed to work with,
the new guy.
And then he's like, they're like, "Oh, we'll give you a uniform tomorrow. Just start cleaning." Like, in a place that large, they would never set you to work without multiple days of training and being in costume.
Yeah,
0% chance.
Well, I mean, not at Disneyland for sure.
Yeah, or Universal or SeaWorld, like any, which like they posit this is on that level.
Yeah, the scale is enormous based on just what you see in that spread page and the map at the end. It seems like a massive park,
right? And the fact that it is powered by the
Dark Lord,
the source of some sort of demonic essence. So like, it is possibly hypnotizing people into wanting to come or whatever the case may be, but like there are other forces at work making it popular besides the fact that people just like it.
Right.
So the unprofessional nature of how they treat this kid on his first day just seems out of place.
Lazy. It seems lazy. It's because it's easier for the writer to connect those pieces the way he needs, right?
Right.
To connect to. It's easy to have the sister and brother just wandering right where our character is, and both happen across him, and he gets to like instantly become embroiled in that storyline.
But I have a feeling that character is still going to be the main character.
See, if they do that, that's going to hurt this book for me. But I want him dead. I want the next book to not even have that kid in it.
Yeah, I mean, I agree, but like, why spend all of the time hinting at the backstory of this kid's parents dying and like his relationship with his sister?
But what a ballsy move if they do.
Sure, but I don't see that happening.
Yeah, if he's the lead character, I think this book's going to go down.
I think it's going to be some sort of thing where,
because I mean, he's getting his like head ripped off and his guts ripped out.
Yeah, but what kind of magic is involved? Like, we don't know the rules of the world yet.
Yep. I really hope they don't go in that direction, and that would be an absolute deal breaker for me, I think.
JP says, unfortunately, no way that's how it will go, John.
I feel like the story should be on the family. And if we want to even have a new victim each issue that's like leading us through a different avenue of the plot, that's fine.
It's interesting because I'm kind of two minds here, because on the one hand, I agree with you that it would be a much more interesting choice to go that direction and have the next issue like that this kid just be dead.
Right.
But I found him much more interesting than the other characters. So if they
they were very flat.
If they just make it about the family who owns this park, I'll be much less interested in the book's protagonists than I would be if this kid continues to be in one way or another as a ghost or a victim or a test subject, whatever the case may be. Because it also seems like there are a lot of very Deus Ex Machina moments with him, like running into the owner's kid and all this stuff where it almost seems like he is fated to be part of this somehow. More so than just being a sacrifice.
Oh, that would be a shame, I think, but I don't know. I mean, I guess with him dead, you lack a protagonist because the heroes are all malicious. I viewed the girl training him as the hero, but that was just what I took from it.
She just kind of disappears after a little bit. Like once he runs into Samhain, the owner's son, she's gone for half the issue until the part closes and she's like, hey, come meet at this restaurant. We hang out and talk about all the weird stuff we've seen.
Yeah. They do cut to a guy who looks like Will Wheaton. Doing his little behind the scenes.
I thought that was weird too, because I feel like it didn't really give us a lot of insight into the story beyond what we could already infer.
Right. But we kind of get her with him at night, helping him a
little bit,
but then he gets drawn away.
We certainly do not follow her in any way. She is a tertiary character at best.
Also, this is spec based on your discussion and not reading it. The only way he stays dead is if it is the spirit because part of the ride. I mean, maybe. I don't know. So maybe that we're hitting on the real difficulty with grading or enjoying a book like this is not knowing in any way where the story's going to go.
Right. I mean, it's a lot easier to rate a story once you're done reading it, rather than oh, Harry, how do you like that new novel you're reading after one chapter? What would you rate the first chapter?
Right.
But unfortunately, that's how you have to do it with comics, because if you bought a book and you don't like the first chapter, guess what? They already have your money.
Yep.
But if you
pay chapter by chapter,
if you buy a comic and you don't like the first issue, you are going to buy the second issue. So you want the writer or the creators want to give you a product that you're going to enjoy in a bubble of reading that issue, right?
I'm trapped in a bubble. Yeah, I know. I totally agree. And I'm at the point with this book where I'm I'll glance at issue 2, but I'm not guaranteed to get issue 2. I might wait and read a trade or something, but I'm definitely intrigued by it, and I definitely enjoyed it.
I don't know that it excited me enough to want to put it on my pull list.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But I enjoyed it enough to want to keep reading it eventually in a trade or something.
I'm probably going to grab my LCS is really cool I'll grab it off the shelf and just skim through it a little bit and just kind of see, if the first few pages are going to hook me enough to buy the next one.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we get enough copies of books back at the warehouse that I could just probably read it if I really wanted to, but
right. I don't know. There's going to be a bunch of people scrambling for Dark Ride issue 2.
Number 2. Yeah. I mean, because only the first issue is going to be a spec book, if anything.
This is true.
This isn't 8 billion. This isn't 8 billion genies.
Which are they on 7th, 8th printings now?
I think a 4th or 5th print came out.
8 billion printings.
Nailed it.
So I would give this an 8 out of 10. I think.
If I had one of those genies, I'd wish for no more speculation.
Boom.
What'd you say? Sorry.
I think I'd give it an 8 out of 10.
Yeah, I think like 7.5. Like it was more enjoyable than the average, but it still like there were some parts that really stuck out like a sore thumb to me that were odd. Oh,
speaking of sexy chats,
69, huh? Let's see. Block user.
So yeah, I think an 8 or even a 7.5, like you're saying, that seems fair.
I mean, if the concept sounds interesting to you, I would definitely recommend reading it because it's a fun read. Like,
yeah, I was very glad that you had mentioned it.
It's written cleverly. Like the characters are funny. Like there's a whole scene with him going to see like the backstage area where they're looking at all the video monitors and they're saying like, "Oh, we got another blowjob. Go clean up the ride."
Sector 4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like, there's definitely like humor and like it's a funnier book than it is a horror book.
Definitely, it's got a quirky sense of humor. But I mean, I like Joshua Williamson's stuff in general.
Yeah,
I liked his Flash, and then I think Gore mentioned Nailbiter. I'm reading his Nailbiter series right now. I'm on volume 3 of Nailbiter, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he's a very established writer, so like, it doesn't surprise me that this is. I hate to use this word because it sounds insulting, but like, it doesn't surprise me that this is competent.
Decent.
Yeah, but like
solid.
But saying like with all the crap that we read on a monthly basis, like saying something is competent is like unfortunately high praise nowadays because so many books feel like they aren't. Anyway.
All right, last book.
Last book
is either Kaya or Kaya, depending on how you want to pronounce it.
Yeah, I figured it was like Maya, so I've been saying it in my head is Kaya.
Or kayak without the K on the end. So this is from Wes Craig and Wordy. I will say I recommended this to Alec because when I got to the end, I was like, number 1, no villain reveal. Number 2, no skips in time, all taking place at the
and then they drop you in the middle.
I texted it to you and you were like, "You're joking, right? Is this sarcasm? I can't tell. Is this sarcasm?"
There's no exposition dumps.
Right?
I mean, there's like moments of exposition, but like that's just storytelling. Like you have to tell the story somehow.
There's no voiceover narration.
Well, there's
at the end,
at the beginning and the end, but like the story isn't driven by like, and I can't say that I hate that device because that's how I wrote my comic. So
right. I mean, there's only 2 pages that even have it. It's like the 6th page and the like second to last page or whatever. I was just blown away that it
definitely doesn't like fall into any of the tropes that you see very frequently in comics nowadays.
Yeah. And the story starts right in the middle, right? Characters are already in the midst of their problems. There's no prologue, no setup. The story focuses on these 2 characters. They are traveling what seems to be post-apocalyptic wasteland. She's got a robotic arm, cool bow and arrow, and she's protecting this little guy. And they keep banding around tragedies in their past that they're kind of running from, hinting at the idea that the little boy is like a princeling of some kind. And she's trying to protect him. And they are dealing with, survival needs. They're fighting lizard people. They are
starving to death.
Yeah. And really the story is just the 2 of them trying to figure out how to get where they're going. And they're on the voyage, just trying to figure out what the next step is.
Yeah. He is or was a prince and they are siblings as well, right?
I couldn't gather the sibling part.
He says, I think like right in the last page, he says something about it was my sister or something.
They talk about like their history and that the scrolls they're carrying are like.
It says she is to thank or to blame Kaya, my sister.
Okay. There's not a ton of dialogue. Somehow I missed it.
But Bub says I have to fight off lot lizards all the time.
Right. she's got this cool robot arm that like powers up, and she's
jeez, they're back.
The sex spots are back,
or just repopulated.
Turns out she knows one of the lizard men, and he agrees to take care of her a little bit and talk his guys from killing her, and tells her that they need her help killing this beast, and that maybe that they could trade services in some way.
So they are kind of wandering through the desert, and the kid is complaining about being hungry, and she's saying, just over this next ridge there's a town, we can barter for some food, don't worry about it. And they get to the town, it's totally deserted. So they're like, well, what do we do now? And so they hide from this raiding party of lizard men. And yes, so one of the lizard men knows, and like even the kid even says to Kaya, like, I thought you were friends with these people, and she's like, only the nice ones or something. So clearly they had some sort of alliance with some of these lizard people and her father, and the lizard person who saves their hide spent like a summer with them, so like they know each other, and he's got like a crush on her, but he's betrothed to someone else. But yeah, so then they kind of convince them to take them along, or to not kill them at the very least.
Right.
And she's like, yeah, I'll come with you, but I get to ride one of your lizards.
And then the prince like eventually agrees to trade the scrolls for some food.
Right.
And
so
they end up getting burned by the lizard men as kindling that they can get some food, which is an ongoing debate about like, what are we holding on to, our heritage, whatever.
So he's very concerned about these scrolls because they hold like the history of their peoples.
Yeah.
And he's like, why don't you just trade your knife? And she's like, the knife is like what finds us food sometimes. Like, you know, I need this to get us. And so he ends up acquiescing and trading the scrolls
for a meal,
which is, you know, obviously kind of symbolic of him throwing away his old life for this new life and like admitting that it's over.
Yep.
But yeah, so like the end kind of like, it doesn't have a villain reveal at all, but it does have kind of a cliffhanger where
it's like a quest reveal.
Right. The prophecy of the Golden One says, I will learn at the feet of the Green Monk that one day I will return mankind to glory and crush the evil Atrians. What I became is something different. She is to thank or to blame, Kaya, my sister. So it's clearly like going to be kind of this epic journey of them growing up in this world by themselves, and what happens where his destiny doesn't necessarily align with where their lives go, and for better or worse, you know, her actions changed the fate of the world, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. And I think it's just what makes this a fun read for me, at least, was you really are in the moment with them at each step. I think they do a really good job, or I should say mainly Wes Craig, because the other people are just the colorers or the letterers, but like Wes Craig is much like Cliff Chiang, just doing the whole thing here. Wes Craig is doing a great job of kind of just putting us next to or with these characters for the things that they're doing, and then having us sympathize with whatever their plights are in the moment. And I think it's just really effective. I don't necessarily feel like it's particularly deep or meaningful at this stage, but it's a great way to set up a story, because it's not boring us in any way.
Yeah, it very much reminded me of the intro setup to Bone, where you're just thrown into these characters' lives as they are in the middle of traveling this world.
Right.
They aren't like, you don't get the battle. You don't get the battle of them like living in this city and getting, you know, kicked out and ransacked and then going on the run. That already all happened. That's not what the story's about. The story's about their journey. So just get to the journey.
Yeah. Exactly.
Which, I guess if you're writing an epic novel, you put all that detail in. But if you're writing I'm guessing miniseries.
Yeah, this definitely does not feel
there's
like
no
an ongoing, but
there's no reason to like waste everybody's time by showing pages and pages of something you can just reference and you get it.
Yeah, the world feels lived in because these characters are expressing the backstory without just telling it to you.
Cormac McCarthy writing a new book. Take your time, buddy. The Road came out like quite a while ago, didn't it?
Yeah, it's been a while.
What was that face for? Not a fan?
I'm Cormac McCarthy is the bottom of the barrel for me.
Wow.
Not a fan at all. Gore and I've gone round and round on Cormac McCarthy. His books just make me want to die.
Well, I mean, The Road is, intentionally depressing.
I feel like all of his books are, but maybe that's just me. The ones all the Pretty Horses, dude, God, kill me now.
So, I mean,
is it No Country for Old Men one of his books?
So you don't necessarily think he's a bad writer. You just don't like what he writes.
Yeah, maybe that's a better way to put it. I don't think he is like without talent. I don't think
you just have no desire to read his stories.
I think his writing is inherently flawed. And the flaw is, to your point earlier, he does not believe there's any humor, comedy, anything in life. Characters are depressing. Life sucks. Everything's a tragedy, and we're all going to die. That's what his point is. And I get it in 2 pages. I don't need 300. And plus, then I don't need sequels.
That's the real world. I don't want to read about that in my time.
But I don't even think it's. I think it's highlighting an element of the real world and ignoring a huge part of the real world.
Yeah.
Because what you mentioned earlier is like the real world has odd, quirky comedy and things that don't mesh, and is not just a Greek tragedy writ large. Like there are definitely more things to it, and I feel like he doesn't give a fuck about that. He's like, no, I don't care for the frosting on top. Like that's not what we're here to talk about.
Yeah, I think that's like why Shaun of the Dead works so well. Because it's like definitely enhanced in its humor compared to a real situation of zombies attacking the world. But, like there would be still moments of brevity in that sort of situation.
But, are you frozen or am I frozen?
Sorry. I'm not frozen. I'm just.
For me, the reason I think he's a bad writer is because reading his stuff, for me, it's the same as watching a crappy Disney show for kids. This one's going to be all fluff and no depth and nothing useless. Everything useless, sorry. This is going to be all dark, all depressing, all heavy, and life is neither of those things. So in my opinion, they are both inherently flawed because they are not true. They're just picking and choosing the things they want to take from life and presenting it as this is life.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, like, I understand what you're saying. I kind of feel like a lot of things, we kind of mentioned this even with Catwoman and Lonely City, where expectations count for a lot. So if you go into it with the expectation that the road is brutally depressing from beginning to end, like enjoying it is a weird way to put it because it's not ever enjoyable, but it is compelling. I don't know.
I mean, for me, it's funny because I can enjoy something like The Godfather or Schindler's List. I can go into and be like, this is depressing and hard to watch, but there's artistry here. Yeah. And Spielberg obviously plays a lot of the notes better, in my opinion. He'll have notes of comedy in something as heavy as Schindler's List. He'll have those elements that add the truth of life And I think Cormac McCarthy's not interested in any of that. He's like, fuck all of that. And that's what irks me, is it just feels flat when you remove that third dimension. And
Fair enough.
I love the Coen brothers. I hate No Country for Old Men. I think it's their worst movie.
Yeah.
And it's because it's thematically, it's because at the core of it is him.
There you go.
I mean, that's where
another one that is definitely like not a cheerful guy.
And that's to Alec's point of maybe not that he's a horrible writer, because he has a way with words. So he can be a wordsmith, but be a flawed storyteller. Maybe that's the reality. Yeah. He's good with words. He's a flawed storyteller, because I just don't think he sees enough of the world to make something, or at least he doesn't present enough of his worlds to make me feel like it's anything but a suicide note.
Yeah.
And that's the flaw. That's what irks me. Versus, again, something that can be heavy and depressing and have a tragic ending, but be built on something that feels truer to existence for me. I don't know. But I think it's worth talking about. And I tend to, whenever it goes in the chat and the Cormac comes up, it's something that we go round and round. Yeah. I would love to do a Cormac McCarthy discussion with Gore at some point. Because I have these conversations with other people as well that are big fans of his stuff. You know, Fire Guy Ryan, I know, is a big fan as well.
Yeah. I'm not well read enough to like really contribute to a conversation like that.
And I mean, I have not read a ton of his books. I've seen a ton of his movies. I knowing what I'm in for when I see his name on something, it's like, you know what? I don't need it. I don't need it.
Well, any other books you wanted to talk about quickly at all from the last month?
I don't think so. Kaya, I would rank a little bit above Dark Ride, like 8.25. I might get a second issue of Kaya just to give it a shot. It might have actually just come out recently. Actually, was it this week? It might have been a second issue.
I don't know. I didn't see it, but
of those two, I'd be more likely or more inclined to get a second issue of Kaya.
You know, it's so different in the way it feels. Like it's in the same ballpark for me for sure. Like as far as enjoyability, but I can't necessarily say I liked one more than the other just because like they're just so different. But I think it was probably more complete as an issue. Like it didn't have those faults. Like the only thing I'll say about it is that I found myself kind of zoning out at points where I felt like not a lot was happening, and they were kind of just like some pages just felt like filler, I guess. But as opposed to Dark Ride, which was just like chock-a-block full of like, this is all happening all at once.
Yeah, did not slow down that one.
But yeah, that's all we got for this week, I think, right?
That's it. Yeah. I grabbed, I don't know if you grabbed this for next month, but
I did. Yep.
There's at least one book we can guarantee to be discussing for November.
There was also a Mad Cave book that I wanted to get, which my shop did not receive, called Nature's Labyrinth or something like that.
Okay.
So if I can track one of those down and I read it, I'll let you know. But then you will have to try to track it down, and it's a Bad Cave book, so not a lot of shots.
My LCS does really good with indies, I will say. I've very rarely had a hard time.
Well, okay.
So shout out to Nuclear Comics.
Nice. What do you got? Anything to promote?
I mean, I've been on other people's channels most of this week. So I was on JP's last night, and that was a lot of fun. I was on No Good Comics on Tuesday. Or was I hosting Tuesday? I might have been hosting Tuesday. So I've been hanging out with a lot of cool people, just talking funny books. And nice. I got a ton of things to unbox. I got an AOK from Geek Aficionado sitting here that I got to unbox at some point. I still have stuff coming in from C3 that I had ordered from Comics Curing during the Comics Curing Cancer event. And I bought a piece of, I guess, JP and I Got Issues. They tease me that it's like original art in quotes because it's pieces by, good God, the Nightwing artist. Tom Taylor and Bruno Redondo. Sorry, it's Bruno Redondo who does digital artwork. But what he does is he prints every page one time and does like a master print, and then he signs and sells them.
As like a one-of-one print.
Exactly.
Yeah. So it is original art.
Because it's the only of its kind.
But that's still very cool to own, but yes, it is.
And he sells them. They've got a very efficient website for selling them. And I just cruised, once I heard about it, I cruised through, and there was a panel or a page with some cool panels that I really liked. And I was like, click, and I bought it. So I got one coming.
Very cool.
Yeah.
It'll look just as nice on your wall.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. It's a really cool page. I think it really came out nice.
Nice. We got D&D Sunday nights on JP's channel.
Yes, we do.
And otherwise, we got book club back on John's channel next month for the November wrap up.
Yes, sir.
And then after that will probably be our year-end thing that we do sometimes. Can you believe 2022 is almost over?
It's kind of shocking. I've already got like 2 or 3 books that I think will definitely be on that list.
Yeah,
sure. We pretty much talked about one tonight.
Yeah. Spoiler alert, Catwoman Lonely City will be on my top list. I don't know where it'll land yet, but it's definitely up there. All right. Well, thanks everyone for stopping by and joining us. And hope you enjoyed your time with us. And until next time, never turn your back to the ocean. Goodbye.